After almost 2 months of owning the Tesla Model Y, today we're talking about 3 loves and 1 hate. Let's get into it. Obviously, Tesla has basic autopilot enabled for free on all of its vehicles, and then you can upgrade to the $10,000 full self-driving package as well. In Australia, that full self-driving package doesn't have auto steer on city streets just yet, so it isn't worth it in my opinion. However, the basic autopilot is something that is phenomenal. For somebody like me that does a lot of road trips, constantly going 300, 400, 500 kilometers between cities, the basic autopilot and the lane assist is one of the best features by far. The amount of active attention required and the amount of fatigue that occurs during these long road trips is quite vast. However, when you are driving a Tesla Model Y or any Tesla for that matter, it is significantly reduced by simply using the basic autopilot feature. For instance, the auto lane keep takes away the mental fatigue of constantly going around corners. The speed assist as well as the distance control again is something that is really useful. Now obviously basic autopilot is available in hundreds of cars around the world today, but this is one of the first cars that I've actively enjoyed using it in, and it is something that is fine-tuned to a point where it's actually somewhat trustworthy, even though it still does feel like a 15-year-old learner driving the car at some points. As part of the driving experience in an electric car, not just a Tesla, the one-pedal driving is something you become rapidly accustomed to without even realizing. So for example, I recently drove back up to Perth, which is a 450-kilometer trip one way in an ICE car, and the driving experience just wasn't the same. There were so many times that I had to mentally remember that I had to brake and not just let go of the accelerator pedal. So it is almost a weird, strange con that you have to get reaccustomed to driving a normal car and braking, whereas in a Tesla and all electric cars, you get one pedal driving. You simply press on the accelerator to go and let go of the accelerator to slow down. Unless you need to brake suddenly and quickly, you don't really have to press the brake whatsoever. And like I said, this is something I became so accustomed to so quickly that when going back to a regular car, it just takes a lot of mental energy to go back to braking, where it's just so easy to drive one pedal. The last little thing I'll add in the driving experience is a software update as well as a general hardware update. Previously, there was a fixed position on the screen where when you turned your blinkers on, it would show what was next to you and who was next to you. Now, personally, the way I used to drive was my hands down at 4 and 8, and that always covered the bottom right-hand side of the screen for me, obviously being in a right-hand driving position. Now, recently, Tesla updated this software to allow you to move the little blinker screen wherever you wanted. This has been a game changer, and it's so simple now to drag the little screen up to a position that isn't distracting and isn't hidden. So as part of the driving experience, the software updates that make these general annoyances and nuisances functional and reliable to all drivers around the world is an amazing feature. Moving on to the second love of this vehicle, and it is obviously the aesthetics all around. Starting with the elephant in the room, the white seats are the most beautiful thing you can purchase in a vehicle. Now I understand the complexities of having white seats and the fear of having white seats. However, they're incredibly easy to clean, they're incredibly easy to maintain, and overall it just makes your vehicle look like this unique spaceship. It draws so much attention for good and bad, but it is something that brings genuine joy when you walk into a vehicle and it is completely different from anything you've ever owned in the past. I've always had leather seats or fabric seats, and they've always been a darker tone. Even if you would have a tan seat, it kind of blends with the overall car and the dark cabin itself. It's a little bit more moody. Whereas when you get into a white Tesla Model Y with white seats, white interior, it is just so bright and such a different driving experience that it's so much more pleasurable to actually get in this vehicle and drive for prolonged periods of time. Something that people actually like and dislike about the inside of the Tesla Model Y is the minimalistic interior. For me personally, this is an absolute love because there is nothing in the interior. It is so clean, it is so simple, and it is so purposeful, almost to a fault. So the glove box not having a button and having to go through the touchscreen is definitely a pain, but overall it blends in with the entire concept of the vehicle. As an architect, for me, understanding form follows function and purposeful design is very important. So when you go and buy a Tesla and there is just this clean concept that's been maintained throughout the entire design process, is very satisfying to see. Arguably, yes, it is an extra $1,500 to get the white seats, the minimalist package, the white trim rather than the wood trim, but overall, I believe it is worth it. And just like the white seats package, I believe also the upgraded induction wheels on the Model Y are also worth it. I understand the wheels are again another $3,000 to upgrade from the standard wheels to the induction wheels. And yes, the ride height is somewhat compromised because you have bigger wheels, which is standard in any vehicle. But what you have to keep in mind is this is a vehicle you approach every single day. This is a vehicle that you look at every single day and it becomes your pride and joy. So for me, it actually brought me more joy to understand that I'd be walking up to this vehicle, looking at it holistically and going, I love every part of this vehicle. Whereas if I didn't buy the wheels, I would have just been thinking, oh, you know, I love the vehicle, but I hate these hubcaps, I hate these wheels, and it just wouldn't have been the perfect package. The last love of this video is very simple and very practical. The Tesla Model Y is incredibly versatile and has an abundance of storage. Now, we debated the Model 3 and the Model Y against each other, and obviously they're near identical vehicles. However, the Model Y has significantly more storage for whatever it is you need. If you're looking to go on a camping trip, if you're looking to go on a family trip, if you're looking to go on a hiking or adventure trip, you have the freedom, flexibility, and basically luxury to put as much as you need into this vehicle in all sorts of hidden spaces. Having the frunk is great and versatile, even though it's hardly ever used because it is a manual frunk. It would have been great to have this as a powered feature, but there is significant storage at the front, which most vehicles don't have. Then in the back, you have this additional underfloor storage, as well as obviously the incredibly large boot and the powered rear seats to allow them to fold down and give you additional space. If you wanted to fit a bike in here, or even potentially some extremely long pieces of timber, construction materials, whatever you needed, you can most definitely fit more than you can do in general vehicles. So overall, between the Model 3 and the Model Y, the storage is such an amazing additional feature that it makes it worth the extra money. Now, if you've made it this far in the video, make sure you consider smashing that subscribe button and leaving a comment down below for more great Tesla content. But we are about to get into the one hate of the Tesla Model Y. And I don't know if I'd call it range anxiety or if I'd call it range frustration, because online the Tesla Model Y predicts it will get about 455 kilometers of range. At 100% charge, it predicts 435 kilometers of range. However, when you go on nice long road trips, traveling to and from at about 110 kilometers an hour, that range substantially decreases. Now, I don't know what the rest of the world does when they go out and purchase a new car, but I do some insane feasibility studies, compare it in extreme detail, look at all the servicing costs, break it down to the final cent. And obviously in my brain, I considered 435 kilometers minus maybe 10% for range inefficiencies. You'd still end up with a good 350, potentially even 360, 70 kilometers out of a single charge, which means you weren't spending that much money on electricity for these longer road trips. What I've actually figured out is if you're doing these longer road trips, comparing it to a very efficient petrol-powered car, you're most likely only saving half of your running costs for the petrol versus the electricity, compared to my original estimate of about 1/4 total cost for electricity compared to the petrol. I believe that the range anxiety and the range frustration is still very real, and I definitely sway a lot more to range frustration than range anxiety. Anyway, that's all for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you check out the playlist to the side of me for more great Tesla content. If you love the video, make sure you smash that subscribe button down below. But like always, I'll see you next Monday.